My main point is that musicians must be free to express their protest however they want to, and they're entitled to do so. And telling people to shut up and sit down and be quiet and play, or sing or whatever, is just ridiculous. The wonderful whole tone rocking chords at the beginning of Holst's Saturn from the planets, and there it is on my t-shirt. Amazing how those chords, although they are whole tone, they don't remind you of Debussy, do they? They feel like the music of some weary old age, which of course is what Saturn's all about. And what a masterpiece it is. I want to carry on talking about the planets, and I've got all the t-shirts to do so. So please leave a comment if you're interested in getting more Holst. I've been a bit disappointed, having done 2 of the planets, that there aren't more views on those amazing pieces. So let me know. Do you want me to carry on with the planets? I'd like to. But today's discussion isn't actually about Holst. It's going to be a quick response to a curious thing that happened a few days ago. You all know I do quizzes on the channel page, and many of you do those quizzes and have a lot of fun, and it's great fun doing them. I'm doing slightly less at the moment because it's actually quite hard work. And my spelling is dreadful, so words are always going in wrong. And when they do, I can't re-edit them because for some reason with YouTube quizzes, you can't re-edit them. But the quiz that stirred up a lot of controversy was about András Schiff's decision to boycott the USA. I don't know why that provoked a lot of discussion. It's just one of those things. Musicians make these decisions. And in Schiff's case, it would have been a decision that meant that he wasn't making a lot of money from that particular rather lucrative source, because touring in the United States is more lucrative than elsewhere. He's not alone in making the decision. Krystian Zimerman has boycotted the United States since 2009. And the marvellous violinist Krystian Tetzlaff has also refused to play in the United States. I don't know. I understand, and many of you were just cross because as American citizens, you thought that it was awful that leading musicians would do that because they're depriving the American music-loving public of the joy of hearing them perform. And I agree, that is sad. And I'd have to think about this. I mean, if Daniel Barenboim decided he didn't want to play in the UK anymore, yeah, it would be a shame. But I also think that the artist has every right to give things up. There's a famous British case of this in the late 60s when John Lennon handed back his MBE, on which occasion he wrote to the Queen the following note: "Your Majesty, I am returning my MBE as a protest against Britain's involvement in the Nigeria Biafra thing, against our support of America and Vietnam, and against cold turkey slipping down the charts." So it's sort of Lennon characteristically tongue-in-cheek in a curious way, at the same time as being sort of politically active. But I think any artist has the right to protest or to make any career decision they want on the basis of their personal convictions. And I personally would prefer them to do that than to remain silent. The number of people who write on the channel, "Stick to your discipline, just play your instrument and shut up," that kind of comment, as if musicians and artists in general were just performing monkeys, is frankly appalling. I totally disagree. Artists, like anyone else, are free to express themselves however they want to. There is a context for András Schiff's decision, which I should explain. During the Hungarian regime under Viktor Orban, he was an outspoken critic of that far-right authoritarian government. And during that period, he received quite unpleasant anonymous letters, one of which threatened to cut off his hands. And because of these, and because of his ideological objection to the regime, he chose to live in the UK during that period. And I think this feeds into his decision to boycott the United States. To some extent, this decision goes back to Béla Bartók. There's a sort of tradition of these things. Béla Bartók, the great Hungarian composer and pianist, is one of András Schiff's heroes, as he is to all Hungarian musicians. And Bartok also opposed the fascist Hungarian regime of the 1930s. And it's very interesting that the leader of that fascist regime, Admiral Miklos Horthy, was celebrated by Viktor Orban, who put a statue of Horthy in Budapest. So you can see that there's a lineage which Orban was quite happy to tap into. But I would applaud Bartok for his brave decision to leave his beautiful house in Budapest and to go and live in the last years of his life in exile in New York City. And he's very unhappy there, miserably separated from his homeland, which he dearly loved, but he couldn't return because of the evil regime. I think evil is the right word. They killed many people. And they facilitated the Holocaust. So, I'm sure there are many people in the 1930s who objected to Bartok doing that. But nevertheless, I think most of us would say that he did the right thing. And András Schiff is not at all isolated in his objection to the current presidential regime. America has its own homegrown artists who have objected to the current administration. One of America's leading composers, John Adams, the celebrated composer of Nixon in China, was once asked whether he wanted to make an opera about Trump. As a kind of mystery. And he replied, "Trump is not interesting because he's a sociopath. There's no empathy. He's a manipulator." And quite recently, of course, Philip Glass has refused to have his new Lincoln Symphony performed in the Lincoln Center in Washington because of all the shenanigans around the sacking of the old board and the appointment of Trump acolytes. And of course, the disgraceful rebranding of the Lincoln Center as the Lincoln and Trump Center. Interestingly, there are swathes of American musicians who oppose Trump. I wonder if anyone can tell me one single significant classical musician or jazz musician who supports Donald Trump. I'd be interested to know. I suspect there are none. But in a different sector, it's also interesting to see the number of commercial musicians who have got increasingly infuriated by the current administration's unauthorised use of their music in electoral rallies and so on. So Mick Jagger, Lord, Blondie, Sheryl Crow, Green Day, Lionel Richie, Elvis Costello, Keith Richards, Steven Tyler, and Roseanne Cash have all signed a letter demanding that politicians seek permission before their music is played at campaign rallies. The Trump campaign played the ABBA songs Money, 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 The Winner Takes It All and Dancing Queen. And the group have demanded that such material is not used for that purpose. No permission or license has been given to Trump. Adele has done the same. Aerosmith have done the same. Also, A.H.A. These are all the A's. Andrew Lloyd Webber. These are all people who've written cease and desist letters to the Trump campaign. Ariana Grande, the Animals. In fact, Eric Burden of the Animals said that he objected because Trump had used House of the Rising Sun during a campaign event, and he said, "A tale of sin and misery set in a brothel suits him so perfectly." He suggested that the Animals' "We Gotta Get Out of This Place" would have been more appropriate. The George Harrison estate denounced the use of Here Comes the Sun in the Trump campaign. Beyonce has sent a cease and desist letter. Bruce Springsteen, of course, has been very vocal. Celine Dion has refused permission. Creedence Clearwater Revival. I'll just read them out. These are all bands that have got particularly hacked off about the unauthorised use of their material. Earth, Wind and Fire, Eddie Grant, Elton John, Everlast, Foo Fighters. The Frank Sinatra estate, because Trump used My Way, and his daughter Nancy Sinatra said, "This is a sacrilege. Trump may love Sinatra, but Sinatra did not love Trump." Then we've got Free, Guns N' Roses, Heart, Isaac Hayes, Jess Glynn, Joey Valenson Bray, Johnny Marr, Kenny Loggins, Leonard Cohen, the creators of Les Miserables, Linkin Park, the estate of Luciano Pavarotti, MGMT, Neil Young, Nickelback, Nico Vega, Nick Kershaw, the OJs, Olivia Rodrigo, Ozzy Osbourne, Panic at the Disco, Pharrell Williams, Phil Collins, Prince, Queen, Radiohead, R.E.M., Rihanna, The Rolling Stones, Rufus Wainwright, Sabrina Carpenter. All these artists, and there are many, many more, have had to issue letters against the current administration because of unauthorised use of their material. That's really disgraceful because it's about exploitation. You should ask permission of an artist before you use their song. It's just basic politeness. So I suppose one could describe this as a pretty much an army of musicians who've been forced to make some sort of statement against the current administration, and I'm sure some of you will think that everybody's misguided in doing so, and that's fine. But my main point is that musicians must be free to express their protest however they want to, and they're entitled to do so. And telling people to shut up and sit down and be quiet and play, or sing or whatever, is just ridiculous. So let's not be silly about these things. People are entitled to take a stand. Thank you for watching. This is not a political channel, but sometimes politics and music collide, and I think this video has explained why that happens. Please feel free to express yourself in the comments below, but do so politely, and if you're not polite, I do have the power to remove your comment, so watch out. If you like our videos, please like and subscribe, and consider donating to the channel because we really do need your donations. And thank you for those of you who have been so generous and our many patrons and members. It's really great to see a growing community of patrons and members. And the details of how you can become a member or join Patreon are in the video description below. And because we kind of started out the video talking about Béla Bartók, let's finish with a wonderful little piece of Bartok's which I'm going to play on the piano.